Hello everyone, welcome to Wild Wes's Gelvin Valley. Actually, before I just turn out of the yard, I could go over here and check one more. Okay, the light is green, but we are here in Gelvin Valley, and I just realized that when I went to look at the previous episode that I didn't record a doggone thing. And when I finished recording is actually when I toggled the video to turn on the recording, and come to find out then later I noticed it was recording, so I thought I had just forgot to turn it off, or it didn't take. So I turned it off at that time, and all it recorded was just gobbledygook after the close of the game. So what I had done was I came up here on the hill, and you can see up here we don't have any grass up there. I picked it all up, I took it to our sheep, and so all over the hillside I think I got all of it cleared up. So managed to get, I think, a full trailer or two, don't remember exactly. And so I hauled it all over here. I'll just head over here by the sheep. I also spent some time. This was my most brilliant video ever. The one that never gets recorded or sees the light of day, of course. Ha ha ha. But you may remember there were some bales here, and I had been trying. There were some round bales kind of sitting over here. One of them I pushed around the side and tried putting it in the trigger, because I have the bale feed mod in, and I was thinking that all the bales would just kind of automatically go into the trigger and become food for the sheep. Well, come to find out, I had to literally walk up to the bales and push on them, if you will. Basically, yeah, kind of pushing almost as if by hand. And what it was mimicking is, I guess it pretended you had a knife or something in your hand, and you were opening the bale and spreading the material out. So you had to do it, and it told you a certain percentage of how far along the spreading was, and then boom, the bale would disappear. Anyway, last time I went and showed the Lua code where I discovered what you had to do. And I'm almost positive that I remember, and this is what I thought the bale feed mod was, but I'm almost positive I remember a trigger you could just come up to with a bunch of bales and dump them in the trigger, and they would go into the trough. Sort of like, coming with this trailer up here to put it in. So maybe there's another mod out there. Maybe it's something. I know at one point I mentioned trying to look at the settings in the map to see if something needed to be installed to the map. I don't think anything does. I think the Lua code of the mod should handle it all. So, but anyway, it's kind of hard to prove, but hey, all the grass is gone, all the bales. And if we just come in here real quick, 71,000 liters. So for our 600 sheep, and they are still producing wool, so that should keep them going for quite a while, is my hope. So I don't know if I'll do grass bales again, and take them over there. It may be just as easy to do what I'm doing by mowing the hillside up there. It's probably, I guess I can't see it from here. Well, yeah, I guess you can. It's probably, I probably can get enough grass. This is going to regrow, and I probably will be able to get enough material, assuming I mowed it with a certain frequency, to be able to sustain 600 sheep. And if I don't, there is there are another couple areas where you could do some mowing. See, we're kind of up in here where we're mowing. If you can see my mouse cursor, I know there was some grass down, let's see, was it over here? Although this was some insanely steep ground. And there maybe is a couple other areas where I could, oops, I'm getting in the way of traffic. So, anywho, I'll leave the sheep be, and yeah, just noting that I took care of them, and I lost all the footage where I was explaining the Lua code. Maybe nobody cares about all that anyhow. I personally find it fascinating how a modder will use the coding of the game, modify it a little bit, and do something brand new functionally. And I think the ability to open the bales and put them into the trough, you know, as if you have a knife in hand, that's pretty clever. Now this over here, let me see, I have my, oh shit, it isn't going to show. Let me just change my settings, auto help. I fail to see why it constantly turns that off, but it does. So let me sneak under here. I was going to see if, maybe it'll tell me, yeah, it's at 68%. So here's kind of where things are. I know, like if we go in here, we have a weather storm coming. We have some hail. We are currently kind of at 5:30 in the evening. We're getting towards the turn of the day. So and I know this is coming. What I don't want to do is plant a crop and then have it destroyed because the weathermen say some hail is coming. And in this version of the series, this is golden here. I mean, whatever it says is going to happen is going to happen. I know later when we got the Seasons mod, later versions of the game, this was more in flux. And even though it said hail, maybe you'd get hail, maybe you wouldn't, that kind of thing. But in this version, what we see here is exactly what we're going to get. So hail's coming, so I'm going to hold off planting the fields. And basically, you know, we've gone through, we've cultivated every field, so nothing really is going on. You see, they're all blank, every single one of them, you know, that we own. There's nothing in them. So, oh, you know something else I'm seeing here again? This is really curious how all these little bits show up here in number 2 and number 47. That is really curious because I don't think it looks that way up there, but, huh. Anyway, I guess we'll see tomorrow, or when we roll the time forward. You know, we'll be planting right on the heels of the hailstorm, so we'll kind of see what's to come or what happens to those fields. So I do have 42,000 burning a hole in my pocket. Actually, I need to, no, not that one. I need to hit delete. I hit the wrong one. Loan details, bank line, loan value. I suppose I could repay. Alright, we paid up, so now we're down to 380. That'll keep some of the interest at bay, although I'm going to need the cash soon, you know, when we plant the fields. But for the moment, I have a choice of things to do, and I recall that down, let's see, over here by the sawmill, I have a whole bunch of stumps that need to be taken out. This all needs to be replanted. Not only over here, I also have it over just above field 53, I believe. There's some in there. So that's something I need to do. Another thought I had, having just gotten rid of all my bales, is it's been quite a while, you know, speaking of additional grass, It's been quite a while since I baled here kind of up on top of up at the radio tower or kind of up this dirt road. There's a section up in here. So I'm a little torn exactly on what to do, but we do have to have something to do between now and then. So I am going to choose to do bales, knowing I did work the timber over there, and taking stumps out is admittedly a pretty repetitive task. So, yeah, I'm going to head down over here. Really, by all rights, I should be fixing my tractor because it has quite a bit of damage. So, actually, you know what? This will give us an opportunity to see what's going on in this field up here. So, I'm going to head up the mountain, if you will, because up here is fuel. So I can fuel up, and I want to see what kind of repair bill, this will give me. What I really need to do is install the damage mod shop into the map itself. I think I need to come up here, I believe. That's where I put it. But 41%, I just kind of delayed fixing it because it costs, an abominable amount of money to do the repairs. So I've just kind of been putting it off, as long as it continues working. It's kind of like, what the harm? All right, let me refill here. And out here, I don't see any. Is there any? I don't know. Like, if I just come out here, I don't think I see. It's just dirt, right? This looks just like regular dirt, but on here it says there's something. But what state is it? It doesn't say if it's growing, ready for harvest. Doesn't say it's withered. None of that. So it really is kind of curious just how the data is being stored, because, yeah, that's just really interesting because it took it out of every other field. But anyway, I can't figure it out. Alright, so got him full up, and let me see here. I wonder if I need to get out here to repair. Maybe I need to get in here. Repair vehicle costs. Ooh, that's a lot of money. R? Hello? Oh, you know what it is. I bet it's because I don't have enough money that it isn't going to let me. So maybe I edit loan. Can I borrow 5, 10, 15? And how do I got enough? 17? Now let me try it. No? Your pick. Oh. Oh, shoot. Oh, you know what? I bet I repaired everything. So the pickup and everything is okay, but all right, let me get out. Let me get into my tractor. Ah ha ha ha. Yes. Okay, so it cost me 15 grand, but also repaired the tractor. All right. Well, hey, it helps to have well cared for things, but yeah, not that long ago that would have been a tough bill to pay. So all right, down the hill we'll go, and I'm gonna see to the haying equipment, and we will head over, I guess, to the other side of the valley and get after it. and I'll say it again. I know I probably sound like a broken record. I really, really do enjoy this map. I'm still enamored with it, no matter. I mean, this here is what, the 285th episode? That's 285 half-hour slots, if you will, and it doesn't even count the time I've, put in off-cam, to enjoy this map. So, and I haven't even scratched the surface, in terms of what's. Oh, you ding dong! I gotta go get the mower. All right, this is the other hang equipment I'll need. That's the. I guess I'll need the. I'm all out of sorts. All right, back up the hill. I should have remembered my mower is up with the sheep. So we'll go visit our sheeps once more. In terms of a topic to visit about here, here recently around our home, we had a pretty significant change to our house, namely air conditioning. And both my wife and I, we grew up without it. And I know there's lots of areas of the world that don't have it. And for the longest time, for most of my entire life, we've lived just without it. And the reality of the climate, where I live, it's one of those things where it's nice to have if you have it in your home, and it seems like most homes have it anymore. It's just part of the HVAC system or whatever. But ours never had it. We got our home many moons ago, my wife and I, and when we got it, all it had was a furnace, so we could heat it during the winter. The furnace soon went kaput. We had it replaced, and we always kind of in the back of our mind, at the time, we couldn't afford air conditioning. And so, what am I coming in here for? See, this is where I get to talking and I can't even drive. Sorry. But we had our furnace set up so that, when we could afford it, sometime down the line, that we could have it installed. Well, enough time went by, and, like I say, we're in a climate zone where you just hardly need it. But when it is hot, it is something nice to have. But it's kind of, I don't know, I always kind of looked at it as kind of a luxury. Even if, a lot of places anymore have it. One of those things that was nice to have, but you didn't have to have it to survive. So, we've just done without it, and for many years, we basically waited, at some point we said, okay, fine, we haven't got it till now, we're just going to wait until our furnace dies, and we got to install a new one, because it's probably something we should do at the same time. Well, lo and behold, we just happened to have a decent furnace. The old adage, they don't make stuff the way they used to is true. But somehow we got a good furnace, and this thing has lasted, oh goodness, more than 20 years, maybe even 25 years, I don't know. And it just hasn't died. So finally this year, we talked about it, and we decided we'd look into it, and we made the painful choice of getting air conditioning. But the part that made it painful is really, in order to do it right, we kind of had to also get a new furnace at the same time. It's a lot of bread, I ain't gonna lie. So it harms the old family finances for a little bit. And truth be told, here as I record this, it is almost the middle of June, and we haven't yet needed it. And the way we always got around it isn't that we didn't have hot days. We've occasionally had days that are over 100 degrees. It's not uncommon in summers here. But the other thing that isn't uncommon and that you always count on is the weather cools off typically in the evenings. A lot of times we'd get a good north breeze from the west, and it would clear all the hot air out and it would genuinely cool down, overnight. I know there's some areas, of the country where I live where it does not do that. Most emphatically does not do that. And it'll be just as hot all night long, hot and sticky and just miserable, to where it's practically a necessity. Makes you wonder, how the old timers did it, when they didn't have any niceties like air conditioning. But not here. It typically would cool down, and with a little work, we always would set the shades kind of on the west of the house, where the windows were so the sun couldn't beat in. We have special windows installed. I don't know what they are. They have like a tinting in them that helps prevent the sun's heat from permeating the house until several hours, just to try to help prevent heat from getting in the house and whatnot. We used to have several trees that shaded the house. The past couple of years, we've gotten rid of some of those. So they were kind of threatening the house as they got some age on them. And then, when the temperature would invert outdoors, being cooler than inside the house, we would throw the windows open and just let Mother Nature, come in and cool the house. And it works pretty well. The hard part is when you have a bunch of days stacked up, that are just hot, and where the cool down doesn't happen until late at night or whatever. So that kind of makes it hard, to cool the house down and keep it cool. So if you have a string of hot weather, invariably over time the house slowly heats up and it gets harder and harder to moderate it. So, but generally speaking, I gotta say, most of the time we never had our house over 80 degrees. It was rare that it would be over 80 inside. Now hold on a sec here. I maybe need to find tower outline. Tower northwest. We are on the northwest, right? Yeah, northeast. Oh, well, let me see what this is. Can I see it? Where? Oh, always got to relearn course play. Show waypoints. The start and end. Okay, so you know what? It looks like I set this up, but I wonder if I'm best off just saying node horseplay. Actually, let me delete those out. None. So we have just something pristine, and we'll just do it the old-fashioned fun way. It's been a while since we've been up here to cut some of this, so here we go. Let me turn this on. Actually, I gotta be careful. I'm trying to remember if I know we got a hailstorm coming. I'm trying to remember if I have the hail damage mod in here. I may. So that may also... I may need to work into the night to take care of all this grass. Let's see. See, this is pretty steep. You wouldn't turn that into hay in real life, would you? I gotta just kind of see where, ooh, yeah, and then I potentially put grass in areas I can't get to it. So I'll maybe get a rough outline here and then try to see. I could take it down the hill right there. There's kind of a hole, but see, that's just insanely steep. Of course, maybe Wes will come along and he'll look at this and say I'm a pansy for not cutting it, but I don't know. I think I'm going to play it safe and we'll just stay up here on top. Actually, there's a little dab, it appears, of hay material there. So, yeah, there's any number of places I could go to down over the hill here. I'll just kind of cut it off. Do I have something stuttering in the background? Okay, maybe there isn't. So anyway, when it comes to air conditioning and whatnot, we've had our own way of dealing with it, and it's been pretty effective. Now maybe, and I'm not sure what the Celsius equivalent is to 80 degrees. That's pretty uncomfortable, admittedly. You know, when we cool the house, I believe, you know, we're shooting for keeping it basically at 70 degrees, so about 10 degrees cooler. But using our way of dealing with it, our technique, if you will, many times this morning included, like this morning when I got up and went to work, the house was at 66 degrees. Earlier this week, you know, we've had some cooler weather here of late. We had the house down to almost into the 50s. That's how cold. And I know that's freezing. So, you know, obviously that's colder than what we would shoot for. But sometimes, you know, in summer, when you have those cool days come along and you can clear the heat out of the house, you kind of want to bank. Did I go down here last time? I don't remember if I did. I think I'm gonna just kind of sneak across here and cut it this way. Maybe it was down on the other side. That looks pretty steep too. You know what? I'm gonna just cut across the hill here. Oh, this is probably way too steep. That's what I'm gonna do. So sometimes, like I say, you bank the cold air in the house because you know it's just a matter of time and you're going to have another hot spell, and whatever starting run at it you can get, you know, just helps keep the house as cool as possible. So, like I say, I feel it was pretty effective, but it doesn't take much. It's amazing the tolerances of the human body, you know, when you're just sitting in the house, you know, the temperature of which, you know, you feel comfortable versus not is surprisingly narrow range, at least for most of us. You know, I don't know, I reach a point, I think, where I just get so miserable hot, and you just feel, yeah, everybody knows the feeling of being too hot, and it's just uncomfortable. So suffice it to say, we finally pulled the trigger and got it in the house, and it took just a day and a half, really. And you know, I am still kind of getting used to it. It's kind of a curious thing, you know, when you're not used to having a cool house or that kind of thing, especially at certain parts of the day. You know, it's a curious thing to come home to it and have a comfortable house. You know, it's really interesting. Another reason why it hasn't really been all that appealing to me over the years is, you know, I work in town. I'm an accountant. My day jobs. I go to work in a place that is supposedly air conditioned, and where my office is, I mean, this is probably a terminal problem of HVAC systems in all large buildings. But notoriously, you have cold and hot regions, and it all comes down to where is the place where the temperature is recorded for the system. Because that is what it goes off of. in terms of whether the heat turns on or the cooling. And where my office is it's on an exterior wall. Well, it's really in a corner of the building, and so I got windows on two sides. And so in the winter, I can just feel some of the cold air coming in. So in the winter, I get really cold. I've been in there, and the temp's been down in the 50s in some mornings, even though supposedly the heat, should be turning on at least at 65 or wherever they have it set. Well, that's why I say it depends on where you measure the temperature. And the flip side of it happens in the summer, where my office has the sun beating in on it. It's kind of southern wall exposure and west, and so it heats it up. And I've had it in there where it's almost 80 degrees, and everywhere else in the office is comfortable, but in my office it's just blistering hot. So, and one of the things I've learned, if someone asks me, would you rather be hot or cold, I would prefer being cold, because I figure you can always put more clothes on or wear a coat, get a space heater or something to kind of help deal, with the cold. You can take care of it. But the other way around isn't so. There are places you can't just take clothes off, and there's a limit to that. Even if you do take clothes off, you're still hot. Whereas with cold, your own body helps, generate heat. And, I've got a fan in there, so I could set that up to blow, but it's just blowing hot air around, so that only helps to a certain extent. So, given a choice, I'd rather be cold, because there are more ways to heat up than there are to get it cool, in my opinion. So, but given that I was used to that, in the building where I was used to being heated in the afternoon, so coming home, it's amazing. Many times it was hotter in my nice, supposedly air-conditioned office. It was hotter there than it was when I would come home to my un-air-conditioned home. Now try to figure that one out. I never could. And I think part of it is just how we regulated our home, trying to keep it cool. But that was true over and over. And when you see that dynamic, well then why would you want to spend thousands of dollars putting in an air conditioning system? So, or at least so kind of went the thought in my head. But anywho, we all heard the bell go off. Thank you, Eustace Farmer, Atomic 67. I never forget him. He's been gone now for a few years. Still miss him, but I'm reminded of him every time I do these videos. And the little cow, it's shaped like a cow, and it tells me when 30 minutes have gone by, and I remember him because he gave it to me as a gift. Thank you so much for coming and listening to me babble on here as we do what we're doing. Hope you all are doing well. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.